death, neighbors rallied to raise money to help her.
A man who drove from Tennessee to Oak Cliff to kill his girlfriend's husband tried to explain his actions to jurors.
Murdering.
Oh, he murdered.
The murder.
A wife pretends to be a victim just to hide her evil plan. But how in the world's name can a wife be that crafty? From playing the victim card to being the mastermind of a hideous crime, this is not just the story of a revived love connection, but also of deception, money recompense, and outright incitement to commit murder. This is Unsolved Files, a place where crime stories are being brought to your doorstep. What are you waiting for? Just hit the subscribe button for more fascinating and suspense-filled crime stories. Now let's get back into this story and uncover this mystery. On October 9th, 2020, in the Dallas neighborhood of Oak, despite the pandemic, people worldwide stayed at home and worked. Like a lot of Americans, Jamie and Jennifer Faith eagerly anticipated their daily stroll with Maggie, their mountain dog. They had this routine every morning, and that day, at about 7:33 a.m., Jennifer was the first to leave the house with the dog on her leash. Jamie then trailed behind them after that. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a man ran up behind the couple and opened fire. Jamie was hit by 7 bullets in all, 3 in the head, 3 in the body, and 1 in the groin. Jamie instantly collapsed to the ground, lifeless, and the family dog sprinted out of the scene. The murderer attempted to remove Jennifer's wedding band from her finger, but when Emery Wilson, a neighbor who lives 5 doors down from the Faith family, heard the gunfire, he hurried outside to help out. He continued running down the pavement, but paused when he noticed Jamie dead behind him and a gunman standing in front of him with a revolver in his right hand. Wilson hurried back inside his apartment to assist with the problem, grabbing his loaded revolver in the process. However, the murderer had already left the site in an older black Nissan Titan before Wilson arrived back there. Wilson rushed over to the Faiths and attempted to comfort the distressed Jennifer. Witnesses reported that the truck had a large white letter T on the lower left portion of the rear window, but no one was able to obtain information about the license plate. However, several neighbors from nearby homes, including those across the street, contacted 911 and pleaded for police and ambulances to be dispatched to the scene. Regretfully, minutes before the first police arrived, the perpetrator had escaped unpunished. This was not the kind of event that typically occurs in this community. Oak Cliff, one of the oldest neighborhoods in the Dallas metro region, was a stable middle-class neighborhood undergoing gentrification. It was an older, pleasant area with friendly locals. At least until that morning, it didn't seem like the kind of place where people were shot dead in the street for their jewelry. Or was it a peaceful place with quiet secrets? Undoubtedly, a secret was being kept, and it had something to do with Jamie Faith's death. The surprised husband's lifeblood spilled onto the sidewalk, revealing a secret with roots that dated back 3 decades that had recently surfaced subtly behind the scenes. So what is this secret that has been around for decades, and why? Let's explore the secrets of the Faith family. Exactly 3 years earlier, the couple had moved into their house on Waverly Street in the Oak Cliff neighborhood with their dog and daughter. The previous evening, the couple, who had been married for 15 years, had celebrated their anniversary. Just 3 years ago, American Airlines and US Air merged, and Jamie, an accomplished IT director for the airline, relocated his family to the region. Meanwhile, investigators were informed by friends and neighbors that the couple had a strong, healthy relationship and that there didn't appear to be any external stresses in it. They appeared to be adapting well to the societal changes brought about by the pandemic. They were content with one another and were in a secure financial situation. They also shared a lot of hobbies. Unfortunately, the death of Jamie tragically affected Jennifer. She wondered why no one came to her aid repeatedly as she sat on the grass close to her husband's body. Later, the police brought her to the station to give a statement regarding the incident, to see if she had any information that could help them.
And I just saw this person shoot and shoot.
The police also requested permission to access her cell phone and look through her messages during the interview process. Jennifer gave the officers complete access to it and consented without hesitation. She pleaded with the public to call the police with any tips or information they may have that might aid in finding Jamie Faith's killer during interviews. She did, however, in the coming days, with at least 2 different TV stations. In the meantime, Jamie was buried. His parents solemnly covered the costs of the burial, and money came in through a GoFundMe page Jennifer set up to help with the family's ongoing expenditures. After the death, the community seemed to calm down. But privately, behind closed doors, the inquiry had gained momentum, and behind another hidden door, the murderers were actually starting to plot their next move. At that point, Jennifer's phone had virtually nothing questionable on it. Jamie and Jennifer exchanged a few chats back and forth on their relationship issues, but nothing out of the ordinary that many other people aren't going through as well, particularly during the epidemic when everyone was living in close quarters. Furthermore, one text message that Jennifer had sent turned up at some point. Jennifer confessed to her old friend, who lived states away from her, that she had reconnected with her former high school boyfriend, Darren, on the internet. She continued by informing her that the two were involved in a serious emotional relationship, if not a physical one. The message revealed to investigators that the affair had begun approximately 7 months before the murder, even though there was not a single text, voicemail, or email exchanged between the two on the phone. But for the old boyfriend, Darren Ruben Lopez, there was his name, address, and phone number. Despite being small, it was a lead that the investigators needed to follow up on. They discovered that Darren had served multiple tours in Iraq, was a Green Beret in the U.S. Special Forces, and had a lengthy career in the U.S. Army. He sustained numerous wounds while he was there, including damage to his head from an IED strike by the side that claimed the lives of 19 of his comrades. He was the father of 2 daughters and had recently gone through a divorce. In the course of investigating Darren, authorities in Tennessee worked with investigators to engage the ATF, the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, to utilize their resources to do quick surveillance of the property to see what they could turn up, and what they found would bring the case of who killed Jamie Faith to a head. In an aerial flyover photo of the Lopez property on November 20th, there was a black Nissan Titan pickup parked outside of a barn, and in the lower left rear window on the back of the truck was a distinctive white T decal. It matched the getaway vehicle's images and the descriptions provided by the eyewitnesses. What kind of coincidence would that be? For Jennifer Faith's high school lover to acquire a car that precisely matches the one that was recovered at the crime scene 650 miles away on a rural farm. This was enough proof for the detectives to start looking into Darren Lopez's role in Jamie Faith's case. The report was unquestionable, and warrants were secured to get Lopez's phone and bank data. Apparently, records demonstrated that Lopez had brought his truck in for a brief maintenance and inspection the day before the murder. He had immediately gone to Huck's petrol station down the road, filled up the tank, and taken out cash from an ATM. The establishment's security cameras captured him at the store wearing a blue surgical mask that matched the perpetrator's appearance. Lopez's phone recorded mobile tower pings from Cumberland Furnace, Tennessee to Dallas, Texas, similar to a lengthy telltale trail of breadcrumbs. Examining security camera footage from various points along the route, including the exact roads he took after the killing. Later, Dallas detective Eric Barnes discussed the effort that went into tracking the operation. Based on phone records, Lopez arrived in the Oak Cliff neighborhood at about 2:19 a.m. on October 9th and parked his pickup in the rear of an empty house close to the Faith residence. In the dead of night, he entered the property without setting off any alarms or warning the neighbors. He calmly waited for the Faiths to leave their house at 7:30 in the morning, followed them out, and executed the man. Just a moment later, he was back in his truck and had gotten away. He managed to leave the city during the morning traffic hour, which was, of course, considerably lighter due to the pandemic. Records also indicated that he traveled the full 650 kilometers back in a straight line with only a few pauses. Investigators then learned that he had informed his girls that he would be going on a hunting expedition for a few days before he went. Days after the initial flyover, a second inspection of the Lopez property revealed the Nissan truck was still there, but the white T decal had been taken off. How did he get to know about this? Has he been informed that his trunk and the symbol are the subject of a police investigation? Once more, it would have been far too coincidental to think that he had just decided to take it down immediately following the incident, and the police were quite aware of both the reason behind it and the source of the suggestion. On January 11th, 2021, Darren Lopez was apprehended by federal authorities and law enforcement during a traffic stop, which occurred a month and a half later. He was carried in for trial on federal gun charges, as well as a murder charge out of Texas related to the death of Jamie Faith. As part of this case, Dallas police shared their long-distance operations with those in Tennessee, but they were also organizing another coordinated effort within their city. To eliminate the possibility that Lopez would receive a warning call or text, authorities brought Jennifer Faith in for more interrogation. Did Lopez act alone, stalking Jamie to death to get Jennifer back? Perhaps he was eliminating a competitor for her love. But the police needed more details than just his level of involvement, and Jennifer was their next suspect. The depth and complexity of the relationship that the two suspects had built over a great distance in a matter of short months astounded the detectives. They asked to examine the phone and its contents once more. She permitted them, and this time they were also able to obtain Lopez's consent to search his phone. Between the two of them, what they discovered was contradictory. More specifically, Jennifer's conversations with Darren on the chat were essentially not present, whereas Darren's phone indicated quite the opposite. The police needed to find out if Jennifer had any influence over the situation, even though they knew they had their shooter. She eventually stopped communicating, and they provided her with very little, if any, information regarding Darren's arrest. In response, Darren declined to turn on Jennifer and accuse her of the crime. Subsequently, he faced accusations that he viewed himself as a white knight, devoted to the woman he loved, and that he even considered the possibility of being executed in a Texas murder trial. Both the murder charge and the charges related to the interstate attempt to commit murder kept him in custody. He was being jailed in Texas under a $1 million bail. Even in the face of those accusations, Darren refused to give up on her. His texts and communications did. There was a text message from Jennifer to Darren on December 3rd that was on his phone. "You should remove the sticker from your truck's rear window," I kept thinking to myself as I woke up in a slight panic. Darren replied to the text after about half an hour, saying, "I've been working on it, but I don't want to take it off all at once. The girls would notice that." She texted him the following day saying, "I think you need to get that sticker off ASAP, like today," since she was having a horrible feeling. After that, he quickly texted back saying, "Sticker done." She said, "Yay, thank you. I feel so much better." Though it might not have been the precise smoke they were searching for, it demonstrated that there was no longer any room for doubt. It wasn't just Darren Lopez who had done this crime. The police lab was able to match the shell casings discovered at the murder site to a .45 caliber Sig Sauer handgun that was discovered during Darren's house search under a search warrant. Additionally, tiny amounts of Jamie's blood were discovered on the gun itself, removing any possibility that it was used in the murder. The handgun's ownership was confirmed as well because it had been discovered in a soft cover case identifying it as Darren's. When they dug further into Darren's phone records, they found another text from Jennifer that said, "Don't text me Monday. I'm going to the factory to reset my phone on Sunday night after deleting texts." It was sent just 2 days before the murder. Jennifer Faith was led back in and taken into custody on February 24th. First, she was accused of obstruction. Investigators were able to retrieve every text message that she and Darren had exchanged during the previous month. Not only was there an account of a romance that was renewed, but there were also details regarding financial gain, bribery, and open encouragement to kill. When Jennifer's computer and other electronics were taken from the house, undiscovered emails, some of which revealed quite unsettling information, were revealed. Apparently, Darren contacted Jennifer via her LinkedIn account, indicating that he had been looking for her for some time. This was the beginning of their online romance. He showed some vulnerability, still reeling from his divorce, and Jennifer, sensing certain shortcomings in her marriage, replied. Very shortly, the two got into something hot and heavy. They had more than 14,360 interactions, emails, texts, and phone calls during the months leading up to the murder. They didn't speak for a while after the murder before getting back in touch. With Jamie's life insurance policy, which was worth $360,000, Jennifer paid Darren $50,000 as a settlement. Jennifer started hinting along the way that Jamie abused her, in addition to the fact that she was unhappy in the marriage. She first reported emotional abuse to Darren, followed by physical assault, and then sexual abuse. Jennifer sent images of the alleged injuries she had gotten from Jamie to Darren, who was becoming increasingly concerned. She revealed to Darren that she had only told one other person, a coworker named Rob, about the assault. However, she gave Darren his contact details so he could get in touch with Rob and get confirmation of the story. Rob informed Darren via direct emails and chats that he had seen the proof and had advised her to leave, but he had been informed that she wouldn't because of her family. And then Jamie started sending Darren emails. In the email, he informed Darren that he was aware of the affair he was having with his wife and that the abuse would not only continue, but worsen if Darren continued with the affair. Following this, Darren moved away, but Jennifer got in touch with him once more, and this time, their relationship took on a more sinister tone. Subsequently, the investigators discovered something that fundamentally altered their perspective on the case. Are you prepared for the shock? Even the investigators and detectives were astounded by this bizarre situation. Apparently there was nobody like Rob. He did not even exist outside of that relationship. And the emails from Jamie didn't come from Jamie, but rather were from dummy accounts that Jennifer Faith had created on her personal computer. Damn, what a deceptive woman she was. However, Darren was unaware of the fact that she was portraying all three parts of the drama he was a part of. He knew she was his genuine love. Therefore, when the detectives told him about it, he denied that it couldn't have happened in that way. They gave him the proof, and then they demonstrated to him that she had not only manipulated the two men's statements, but also provided evidence of abuse. How can a wife be this devilish? What kind of game was she playing, and what was she going to achieve in all of this? All the same, the information baffled Darren. Had he been fooled all along? Had he been a part of some plot as a pawn? At this point, he was left to his own thoughts, and his lawyers seized upon the notion as they prepared him for the upcoming legal battle. Following Jennifer's detention, her lawyer had a conversation with the local press. As certain as he was that he could defend her, Jennifer suddenly had second thoughts and gave in. She did, however, immediately work out a bargain for a guilty plea in exchange for accepting life in prison. The Justice Department also dropped the obstruction of justice charge against her, but she was still required to pay a $250,000 fine and reimburse Jamie's family for the cost of his funeral services, which cost $6,500. While Jennifer was being sent to prison, Darren's lawyers tried to build a defense for him. Not that he didn't kill the man, but rather that he had been deceived by Jennifer's actions and had been bravely standing up to the woman he loved.
At the time, I was thinking I was the noble soldier that did my job. I did what I was trained to do. I protected people. I kept them from a monster.
Darren Lopez was ultimately found guilty of killing Jamie Faith. It was evident that Darren had decided to drive to Dallas and kill an innocent and unsuspecting man in a fit of rage that had been long stoked and fostered by Jennifer Faith. He did, however, receive a 62-year term for the offense. He would ultimately meet the same fate as the lady he loved, but they would never be together again. What do you think about this case? What did Jamie ever do to Jennifer to deserve such a dubious crime? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Have you ever wondered how a home invasion turned into a full massacre? Check out our previous video. Caution: this is one of the most horrible true crime stories, the Petite family case.